Fashion's history. The history of fashion is a history of people. During this past century, it was the couturiers and designers that laid the foundation of the modern fashion industry we know today. The liberation of women from concerted confinement, the creation of ready-to-wear clothing, logos, licensing, window display, lifestyle brands, fashion shows, marketing, and even protection of intellectual property rights are each a direct result of the ingenuity, bravery, and creative genius of individuals who were in their lifetimes stylistic and societal before 1900. Couture Virgin's Rose Bertin was the dressmaker to Marie Antoinette, Queen of France. She was called the Minister of Fashion. She opened a shop in Paris and had considerable influence on Parisian style, until this was drastically changed by the French Revolution. An Englishman living in Paris, Charles Frederick Worth, is usually seen as the first designer in the modern sense of the term, and his success was such that he was able to dictate what they should wear to his customers. Nineteen hundreds. The outfits worn by fashionable women of during the Belle Epoque era were strikingly similar to those worn in the heyday of the fashion pioneer Charles Worth. Toward the end of the decade, Paul Parade introduced designs that didn't include a petticoat or a corset. This was a big change as a woman's waist was shaped by a corset since the Renaissance, ultimately taking the S-shaped figure out of fashion. 1910s. Paul Parrot was one of the first designers to translate the Orientalism into the fashion world. Parrot's clients were at home transformed into harem girls in flowing pantaloons, turbans, and vivid color, and hijack in exotic kimono. Changes in dress during the First World War were dictated more by necessity than fashion, as more and more women were forced to wear demanded clothes that were better suited to their new activities. 1920s. Soon after the First World War, a radical change came about in fashion. Bouffant coiffure gave way to short bobs, wristed with long trains, gave way to above-the-knee pinafores. Corsets were abandoned and women chose the dress like boys. The red couture Coco Chanel was a major figure in fashion at the time, as much for her magnetic personality as for her chic and progressive designs. Chanel helped popularize the bob hairstyle, the little black dress, and the use of jersey knights for women's clothing, and also elevated the status of both costume jewelry and nightwear. 1930s. In the 1930s, as the public began to feel the effects of the Great Depression, many designers found that crises were not the time for experimentation. Fashion became more compromising, aspiring to preserve feminism's victories. Madeleine Bayonet found her inspiration in ancient statues, creating timeless and beautiful gowns that would not look out of place on a Greek frieze. She produced evening dresses that fitted the body without excessive elaboration, employing a flowing and elegant line. 1940s. Many fashion houses closed during the occupation of Paris during the Second World War, including the Maison bayonets and the Maison Chanel. Several designers permanently relocated to New York. The Vichy regime promoted the model of the wife and mother. The couturier Christian Dior created a tidal wave with his first collection in February 1947. The collection contained dresses with accentuated bust, tiny waist, and extravagant full skirt. The lavish use of fabric and the feminine elegance of the design appealed the post-war clientele and ensured Dior's meteoric rise to fame. This was the new look. (1950s). At first, society was now much more circumspect, despite the fact that women had the right to vote, to work, and to drive their own cars. They chose to wear dresses made of opulent materials, with concerted waists and swirly skirts to mid-calf. Then, Cristobal Balenciaga totally transformed the silhouette, broadening the shoulders and removing the waist. He designed the Turek dress, and his work culminated in the Empire line with high-waisted dresses and quads cut like kimonos. Givenchy created a sensation with his separates, which could be mixed and matched at will. He opened boutiques in Rome, Zurich, and Buenos Aires. He was an integral part of the world whose understated elegance he helped to define. (1960s). Until the 1960s, Paris was considered to be the center of fashion throughout the world. But now, many of the radical changes in fashion developed